the input for it is ready for before we leave for the gathering. We start with gathering information. Don't use that. That's what Jeremiah has been looking at. I know you'll be out of town, so you don't really count, but you can have an opinion if you'd like. I guess it depends. If we do it the 16th or 17th, you'll be in town. But that'll be right before school starts. But we're looking at doing a team building course where. Hey, Jeremiah.
Yep.
Do you want to come tell them more about it? You know more about it than I do. I know it's climbing stuff.
Sure.
I
I think I told you guys about it one time before, but out in a Mission, off 140th and Mission, there's a big park called Ironwoods Park, and they have a challenge course out there, and they have 3 50-foot structures that are climbable. And you're safe. You put in a harness. You're tied in. You do as much as you're comfortable with. They do team building challenges. So if you ever had stood on a platform, put your arms like this and falling backwards and let everybody that you're with catch you and you trust them to do it. You do stuff like that. It's real interactive. It's fun. They will put you on a big telephone pole that's elevated above the ground, not very high, probably like that, and everybody can stand on it, and then you've got to figure out how to get everyone in a different order across that log without stepping off the log. But they've got all different kinds of games like that, so they can do some, team building things together with you guys, and then you can do an activity where you climb a really high structure, and it's a lot of fun. There's a rock climbing wall is one of those structures, and there's different routes all around it. I would probably say not do that one because I don't think it's as fun. There's another structure that's made with telephone poles, and it looks like an hourglass, like a bunch of different telephone poles tied together, and it's 50 foot tall, and they've got ropes hanging off of it and cargo nets and all these different things. You can climb up the telephone poles, up the slant of it, and then move to a rope and all sorts of fun stuff on there. And then they've got another area that you can climb up a cargo net and then walk across broken bridges. We'd have to pick one of these, and then they've got a big pendulum swing on that one. I think they've changed it since I was there, so I don't think it's as fun. I think the Alpine Tower would be the most fun for you guys. But some people have fear of heights, and that's okay. I can tell you I've put a lot of people through it, people that are scared, and they really were happy they went through with it and did it. So it's an activity you guys can do together, and it's a lot of fun. If you guys want to do it, I can help arrange it. If you don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Caroline and Will and Rhett would be up for it. I'll have to double check with them since they're not here tonight. But who would be up for doing that?
When is it?
It'd be in
August.
Early August.
Early's should be able to work, yeah.
I mean, the earliest we could do it at the end of June, but I'd have to call them tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't want to try to.
It might be good
Because
to do before going to your event, and then you guys have more time together, and you have a little more bonding, and
yeah.
But
because we have the parent meeting the 29th.
Do
So I guess
the parent meeting, you could go
Right,
afterwards.
parent meeting and right after, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you can look and see.
I can call and ask.
Yeah, because then we would have pretty much all of the youth here, I think, for that. So yeah, find out if they have that date available. Otherwise, we can do it afterwards.
Okay. You guys do what you're supposed to be here to do, and then
yeah,
I'll show you some pictures afterwards.
sounds good.
All right.
All right. So a couple updates from information that I've received since our last meeting. There's not many, but I do have a few. I did find out that The buses will be leaving from Calvary Lutheran off of Warnell at 10:30 p.m. So we will sleep all night long on this bus.
Wow.
Because we're leaving at 10:30 at night. So the good thing is that every chair does have phone plugins and everything. So if you like to listen to music while you sleep, or people around you snore too loud or are just too loud, you can.
What day is that?
So that is the 17th, July 17th is when.
Is that a Thursday or Friday?
It is a Thursday.
Okay, so it's Thursday evening.
Thursday evening
Okay.
at 10:30 p.m. And then we get there Friday around like 3-ish. And then Jack is going to run over to the convention center and get everybody's backpacks and LCEF credit cards so you have money to pay for food. Because everybody will get $300 to spend on what?
Food.
Food. Good job. Not anything else. But we can do that as early as early as we get there and get checked in. Plan kind of for Friday night right now is to hang out at the hotel. Maybe go do a little sightseeing, go swimming, go to dinner, kind of just have a chill after being on a bus all day. Getting yourself set up in your rooms, and then we'll probably that night head over. I'll see how late it's open. It should be open pretty late. We're not too far from the Riverwalk Mall. The mall doesn't have a whole lot in it, but it's a food court with a lot of food options in it. We'll probably in there. One thing that New Orleans is known for is their beignets. It's essentially a really fat donut-looking thing with powdered sugar on it. They're apparently really delicious. I can't really eat them because they're fried. But Cafe Dumont, thank you, has a location at the Riverwalk Mall. I will tell you, if you want those, they are cash only. And so they won't take the card. So you'll just want to make sure you have a little bit of cash on you to be able to get those if you want those. All right. So our for tonight's Bible study, our topic is the struggle. So we're gonna start off with some challenges, just like we did last week. I'm not gonna make you do wall sitting though this time. Instead, I need everybody to come make a circle right here.
Yeah.
We're going to join hands and form a circle. Here, I'm gonna let you guys all off.
Alright.
Okay.
Don't bite.
No, but I am going to give you some instructions, and without breaking hands, you guys have to complete these tasks, okay? I need you guys to sit down on the ground and stand back up without breaking hands.
Oh.
And now you got to stand back up. Okay?
You do that.
Your next one is you all have to balance on one leg together. Okay? You can put it down. Now I need everyone to take off your shoes and then put them back on. Oh, you got poor Joel over here with boots.
Yeah.
Good enough.
I physically cannot do that. I need my hands to pull that up.
All right, you guys can let go and go sit down.
thought you were gonna make us like tangle up and stuff.
Luckily, we weren't doing the whole get out of a knot thing. We
Yeah,
didn't have to
right,
do
knots.
that. Now, luckily you missed last week where we had to do
Wall sits?
wall sits for 2 minutes.
Oh, boy.
I made it all in about 45 seconds.
Yeah, that's probably better than I would do.
The raising our hands over our head wasn't too bad. That was the easy one, but the wall sitting was the hardest. Okay, so those 3 challenges. What do you guys think was the most challenging part of that activity? The shoes,
Mhm.
especially those who didn't have slides on.
Right.
was really hard for me.
I know. Mine is still over there fixing her shoes. I think Joel had to fix his shoes afterwards, trying to put his boots back on. So I think really there, whenever we talk about struggle, and sometimes it all depends on what tools we have with us, right? What we got in our back pocket, or in this case, what shoes we had on. If we had slides, well, that's easy to take on and off. But if you got cowboy boots, that makes it a little bit harder to get your foot in there, and
It'd be better if they were brand new.
it would probably.
They're torn up.
And so, or even tennis shoes, because sometimes you can get the foot in, but then getting that back part to come up and all of that can be hard, right? So how did you feel if at any time you felt the circle was about to break? Did you guys ever feel like the circle was about to break?
No.
I think we had it.
Why?
It just like wasn't really challenging.
It wasn't very challenging, that's true. Now, do you think it would have been more challenging if I made you guys like stretch all the way out instead of kind of being closer together?
Mhm.
Stretching all the way out, do you think that may have been a little bit harder
Mhm.
than kind of being closer? Because sometimes when you're closer, it's easier to do those things. But if I made you stay in one spot and not get any closer, and you all had to take up the whole space, that may have potentially made it a little bit harder. So, what do you think it would be like if you had to spend the whole day staying connected and in a circle like that?
It would get old.
Well, it would be old. I don't.
Chair's broken.
Chair's broken. I'm not sitting this one. How do you think you would eat that cereal or that ramen? Because you can't break hands. I mean, I guess you could try to free like 2 fingers, but then you have to decide, all right, Malachi, you get a bite? No, I get a bite. You get a bite? I get a bite. Do you think it would work really well as a big group going to the bathroom? Even if you had just a girls group and a boys group?
Maybe the guys wouldn't be that bad.
That would be rough.
Girls would be a little different.
Well, how do you wipe?
Well, I'm just saying for like. No,
You still gotta go number 2 sometimes.
Hold it.
Are we going number 2?
Hold it.
Joel's like, I'll wait till the next day. Or have you ever tried sleeping in a circle, like holding hands with everybody and not being able to break hands with the whole group?
Like being tape, I just let go. It's like I fall asleep.
Right? But and sometimes that happens, right? So what kind of struggles do you think you would face? Do you all like watching the same television show?
No.
Do you all like listening to the same music? Do you all like, what if Malachi has tennis practice that day? And you all have to go with him to practice tennis.
And he just had
And then you got Sienna, who has running cross country practice. So then y'all got to go run cross country. And then you got Joel, who has wrestling practice. So then you got to go wrestle as a huge circle.
We're still holding hands.
Well, and wow, hold hands. As a big circle.
I
How
think
would we
we'd all
play
just like
tennis?
lay in bed that day.
You're missing all your sports.
I think we're just sitting in a circle.
Just sit in a circle all day staring at each other.
It's like meditate all day.
We can fast for a day.
Yeah. I could do that.
How are you gonna play on your phone?
I don't think,
Fast.
I think you could live without your
You think you can live without your phone?
I did it
Alright.
like 2 days the other day.
So think about some of your own struggles that you deal with on a daily basis. What are some struggles that you have just on a daily basis without being part of the circle?
Dealing with coworkers.
Dealing with coworkers, yes. I have a couple TikToks that can go along with that.
Joint pain.
Joint pain. Sometimes our body hurts from different things that we do, right? Standing on our feet for long hours at work, or sports, or doing too much, like going from one practice to another, pretty much one right after another. What else? What other struggles do we deal with? Do we always get along with our family members? Or our siblings? So sometimes we have that internal conflict too, right? What if your friend wants you to go do something that you know your parents have told you not to, but you really want to go because it sounds really fun, and if you don't go, then you're not part of the cool crowd anymore. You'll be looked at as an outsider. That can be a struggle sometimes, right? Deciding to do the right thing, or deciding to do the choice that sounds more fun, but now you know if your parents find out, you're gonna have to deal with the consequences, right? So, do you think that anyone else has the same struggles that you do?
Yeah.
Probably. If we all went through and honestly shared what our struggles were, I think we would find some commonality in some of those. And not everything, but certainly in some things we would find commonality of the struggles that we all deal with in our daily lives. While it may be coworkers at Jack's work, it may be other students or teachers at school. While it may be joint pain for Joel, maybe it's that time of month for a girl, and you feel bloated and you got a headache and you're cramping and you're just in pain. And we don't all feel happy and joyful on those days now, do we, ladies? No, I don't. So I'm sure that we have some commonality in that. So today we're going to be continuing in the story of Exodus. Last study, we introduced the study of the Exodus of God's people who were in Egypt during the time of Joseph. Now that Joseph has died, a new Pharaoh rules over Egypt and is threatened by the Israelites. Together, the people of God have seen some stuff and will have to endure a lot. Let's see what Pharaoh intends to do with the people of God. Joel, can you read Exodus 1, verses 8 through 14? Exodus 1, 8 through 14. If you have a Bible app on your phone, you can also use that or theirs. Exodus 1, 8 through 14.
Then a new king who did not know about Joseph, came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become much too numerous for us. Come, we must deal surely with them, or they will become even more numerous. And if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built Pithom and Ramesses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more they oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread with the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly. They made their lives bitter with hard labor and brick and mortar and with all kinds of work in the fields. In all their hard labor, the Egyptians used them ruthlessly.
Thank you. So, what decision did Pharaoh make about the Israelites?
That he's kind of using for like labor and stuff.
That he was going to use them for labor, right? Why?
There's a lot of them.
Yep.
Yep, they have become too numerous for us, right? And do you think Pharaoh was scared?
Probably.
And why do we think he may have been scared?
Too many of them.
Yeah, there's two. Maybe they're gonna try to overtake me, right? Maybe they're gonna try to get me out of my seat. So what happened to the growth of God's people even after Pharaoh's decision, Maya?
I wasn't there.
Huh?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. What happened to the growth of God's people even after Pharaoh's decision? So it's in verse 12.
They kept spreading.
Huh?
Kept spreading.
They kept spreading, right? They kept multiplying. So even though they were oppressed and even though Pharaoh kept making them work harder and harder and harder, they did not let them stop that and they continued to multiply. So even as the people of God were multiplying, how do you think the Israelites felt?
Powerful, I guess.
Probably pretty horrible. I mean, they weren't living in the best living conditions, right? If you think about it, even though that they were multiplying, they worked hard day in and day out, and the harder they worked, Pharaoh made it even more ruthless for them. So they were probably pretty upset, pretty tired, and probably getting pretty tired of it. I mean, you can only take hard labor from someone who, I mean, think about it in today's world where, think about a time where somebody just keeps at you, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they just disagree with you at every single turn. Eventually you kind of just get tired of it and you're like, I'm just ready to give up on this because no matter what I say or do, it's never enough. It's never good enough, right? You struggle with that. It's not something that's always going to go away. You're not always going to be happy about it, even though that they were still multiplying. So before we look at how the people endured through the suffering of slavery and prejudice, let's look at Moses, the leader called by God to tell Pharaoh to let God's people go. After telling Pharaoh to free the Israelites, Pharaoh makes the people of God struggle even more and makes their lives miserable under his reign. Jack, can you read Exodus 5, verses 22 and 23?
Yes. All right. Moses returned to the Lord and said, O Lord, why have you brought trouble upon this people? Is this why you sent me? Ever since I went to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has brought trouble upon this people, and you have not rescued your people at all.
Thank you. So, how is Moses responding to God?
Like, he's asking, like, why. He's like,
Is he asking nicely?
no.
How does that context sound?
Like, rude, I guess.
right, he's probably angry. Like, you told me to ask Pharaoh to let these people go, and the Pharaoh's not, and you're not stepping in. Like, why are you not stepping in and helping out here, right? And so he's a little frustrated with God. Do we ever feel frustrated with God sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we pray to him, maybe we ask him to change the situation, and God just, maybe you feel like he doesn't answer, but maybe the answer is no, because sometimes we have to go through those troubles and tribulations to grow from them. We have to struggle through them. Or sometimes the answer is not right now, not yet. We may see the response later. So, how do you respond to God in your struggles? So, what are some? These are from last week. So, what are some of those feelings we have when we're struggling with God?
Like sadness.
Sadness, yeah. What else?
Irritated.
Yeah.
Angry.
Malachi?
Frustration.
Jack?
Anger.
Maya? What emotion would you put towards whenever you're struggling with God and Him not answering your questions? What feeling would you say that you might feel?
Irritated.
Bailey?
Frustration.
Chloe?
Disappointed.
Disappointed, yeah. Good one. So those are all really good emotions. And is it okay to have those emotions? But do we want to stay in those emotions? So why would we not want to stay in those emotions of sadness, irritation, frustration, anger, and disappointment?
Because it's negative.
Because it's negative, right? And if we stay in those emotions, then it will go across our whole lives, not just in one situation. How many times have you seen where you were, maybe you didn't do as well on a test that you thought that you were going to do? You stayed up all night long, you studied, you knew that information, but yet you got a D on that test. And you're starting to feel anger and frustration. When you go home, how do you think you might treat your siblings or your parents?
Badly.
Why?
Because you're like annoyed and upset.
Because you're still taking these emotions with you, right? One thing is so hard to do. I'm one of the worst at it, but I learned to do it in the workplace. As I learned to leave my emotions at the door. So, because obviously in the workplace, we can't take, or we shouldn't take, that sadness, irritation, frustration, and anger with us. Same with school. But it's hard. But I tried to really focus on not taking that. I had to leave my situations at the door. What if it didn't revolve around work stuff? I had to leave it at the front door of my work building and not take it in with me. Now sometimes the hard thing is when the frustration's at work, you don't want to take that home either. Because then you take it out on your wife, or you take it out on your family, and they don't deserve it. They didn't do anything wrong, but we're just feeling those emotions All right, Maya, can you read Exodus 14, verses 10 through 12 for me, please?
14.
Exodus 14, 10 through 12.
When Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them. And they feared greatly, and the people of Israel cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us in bringing us out to Egypt? It is not what we said to you Egyptians, for what is it have you have been better to us? Serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness."
Thank you. So, what similarities do you notice between this text and Exodus 5:22 through 23?
Like they're still like angry with him.
We're still angry and frustrated at God, right? That hasn't changed yet. If you were an Israelite during this time, what questions would you have for Moses? Joel.
Why are prayers not being answered?
Yeah, why are prayers not being answered, right? What questions would you have for God, Malachi?
Have we done something wrong?
Yeah, have we done something wrong? Like, what's wrong with us that you're not taking care of us and getting us out of this situation? Do you feel like the Israelites felt abandoned by God?
Yeah.
Sometimes do you ever feel like God's abandoned you? Yeah. Sometimes we ask and we ask and we ask and we ask some more and it doesn't change. It's the same stuff continuing, right? How did you endure when you were feeling that way? I know for me, there are times I've had to go. Remember how last week we talked about those people of faith that we have around us that we feel are strong in their faith? Sometimes I have to go talk to those people and just get those feelings off of my chest of, man, I've really been praying for this situation and nothing's changing and I'm feeling very frustrated. Because sometimes just saying it out loud, it doesn't take it away, but at least it makes it feel a little bit better while we're waiting for an answer. It certainly doesn't make it stop. But does anybody else want to share how they endured when they were feeling that way? Are we already up? What time is it?
6:40.
Alright. Cool. Alright. How do we respond to how do the responses of the Israelites reflect our own responses to God?
I think a lot of their responses are driven by what they want
Yep.
instead of driven by what's best for them.
That's true. Yeah. And how many times do we, as humans, do that?
Every day.
Every day, right? All the time. It doesn't matter whether it's at church and what hymns we sing or what. That's one thing that I have to try to remind myself is, and it's so hard because it does cause frustration. No matter what hymns we hear, no matter or sing, no matter anything else that's going on, for me, I have to remember it's about God's word. That's why we're here, right? We're here to listen to God's word. We're here to live out our Christian life at church and outside of church as well. Malachi, can you read Hebrews 12 verses 1 through 3 for me? Hebrews 12 verses 1 through 3.
1 through 3 of 12.
12,
12.
1 through 3.
It was 2 pages back.
Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart.
Thank you. I was on the wrong.
Did you say Exodus 12?
No, Hebrews.
Oh.
Yes, Hebrews
Yeah, I
12.
know. I was like, how are you in
1 through 3. I know I was in Exodus. I was like, that's just
Yeah,
not.
I was in Exodus. I was like, what are you reading?
Yeah, I went.
And
Yeah.
then I was thinking you said Hebrews, but I was like, no. Okay.
Well, not 2. Trying to pull it up again. Yep, so therefore, since we are surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin so that easily entangles us, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So the first sentence says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. Can you think of other stories in the people where people had to endure some struggles? So last week we talked about Hebrews, I believe it was 5. Was it not Hebrews? Or was it Exodus 5? No, Hebrews. Hebrews 11. It's Hebrews 11. And so they're back to last week. So if we look at Hebrews 11, these would be some of these stories about our cloud of witnesses. So remember we talked about, by faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. By faith Abel offered God a better sacrifice than Cain did. By faith he was commended as a righteous man. By faith Enoch was taken from this life, so that he did not experience death. By faith Noah warned about the things not yet seen, and holy fear built an ark to save his family. By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as an inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith Abraham, even though he was past his age and Sarah herself was barren, was enabled to become a father because he considered him faithful who had made the promise. And all the people who were still living by faith when they died. And then it goes on, by faith Abraham, when God tested him, offered his only son. Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff. By faith Joseph, when he was near, spoke about the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt and gave instructions about his bones. By faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born because they saw that he was no ordinary child, and it continues to go on with more clouds of witnesses. So, can you think, So, what was their posture towards God amid their struggles and their faith journey?
Knowing that God has a plan and to just listen to what God's saying and just kind of accept it.
Yep. So they did it by faith because a lot of them never even saw God, never saw Jesus. They were just going with what they were told to do and did it. How does it feel to you to know that you're surrounded by a cloud of people here at Holy Trinity and in your own lives who have struggled and seen some stuff?
What was your question?
How does it feel to know that you're surrounded by a cloud of people here at Holy Trinity and just in your own lives who have also struggled and seen some stuff?
And like, I guess kind of makes you feel better that like there's other people like that are also struggling, not just you.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what a church family is supposed to be. Whenever, especially when we're struggling, but even in the good times, is there's people here that you can talk to, even whenever you're feeling down, whenever life's just not going the way that you think it's supposed to be going, you're struggling. There's people here to always listen. They may not always have the right answer until they're not God. They can't tell you what the future holds. But kind of like with me, with the people that I know that I can go talk to, and share my struggles, they know that they can come to me with their struggles as well, and that they know that it's going to stay between us, and we can just kind of get it out there, get it off our chest. But the great thing about that is now I have somebody else on my side praying as well, knowing that I have prayer warriors on my side if something really is going bad, or if something's really going good, because we should pray and give thanks at all times through the struggles and through the triumphs, right? So, if you are not experiencing a big struggle right now, how are you able to be a part of the cloud of witnesses and support others around you? So let's say everything in life's going well. You're not struggling with any stress. Things are good right now. How do you think you could help others who might be struggling?
Like,
especially other youth. Like, it doesn't have to be adults, but maybe other youth.
like put yourself in their shoes and like just try to understand their point of view.
Yeah.
Offer to help where you can, or at least to listen.
Yeah. Because do you always need somebody to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
Do sometimes you just need somebody just to listen?
Mm-hmm.
To get it off your chest? I've learned with my husband, I have to tell him, because he is a fixer, I have to tell him, I don't want you to fix it, I just need you to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that changes his mindset of, I always like to say, especially whenever we are in a good mindset, we're actually able to listen to somebody. One thing that I like to stress to people is listen to listen, don't listen to respond. How often do we do that where we're listening, but are we fully listening to what people are saying? Sometimes we're listening to respond. Like, you kind of assume what they're going to say, so you're already planning how you're going to respond, and so you may not fully be actively listening to what Chloe's trying to tell you because you're trying to plan your response already. And so sometimes it's really good to just listen to listen. Somebody's practicing the organ, I think. And so the other thing that I like to, it's part of the mental health first aid training, but it's also good for any time you're having a conversation, is repeating something to somebody. So Mackenzie, I hear you saying that you're really struggling with your room being turned hot pink, and I hear you saying that's really just not a color that you want your room to be turned. Why don't you tell me more about that? So by doing that, it's twofold. It's not asking the person a yes or no question. Because if I ask you, do you like your room being pink? That's a yes or no question, right? You can't really give more feedback on that. But if I ask you, hey, why don't you tell me a little bit more about that? But it's also verifying that I heard you right. That this is what you were saying to me. And then you can say, well, that's not really what I meant. And you can correct if maybe I misunderstood. Because how often does that happen sometimes when we're struggling? Even just struggling in communication or understanding somebody sometimes, where you think you're understanding what their their point of view, but then you don't fully maybe understand their point of view. And so that gives an opportunity to say, no, I really do want my room pink. I'm using room pink because it's a very neutral topic to discuss. So one thing that I want you guys to think about, we're not going to do it tonight, but while you guys are at home this week, I want you guys to do some journaling or just on a piece of paper. You do not have to bring it back in. This is just if you want to do it. I kind of want you to think about what personal struggles are you facing right now. How can you relate your struggles to those of the Israelites in Exodus? How can you draw strength from the example of endurance that we discussed? And how can you trust God and rely on the cloud of witnesses in your life? Okay. All right, we are going to close with prayer. We're going to do another response, pretty much the same response prayer that we did last time. I'm going to say a part, and then you guys are going to respond. For his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good.
For steadfast love endures forever.
It is he who remembered us in our low estate.
For steadfast love endures forever.
Give thanks to the God of the heavens.
For steadfast love endures forever.
Amen. All right. Does anybody have any questions about today's Bible study?
That was good.
All right. Next week, I will not be leading your Bible study. Next week, Josie will be leading Bible study. The week after that, Jack will be leading Bible study. And then the 5th week, it'll probably be me again, but we may break it up. We'll see how we're going to do the 5th one. But thank you guys for being here tonight. Take some breakfast food with you. Oh yeah, if you have this all about me sheet, give it to me and I'll.
Good one.
Thank you.
You want me to end it? Mom,
What?
you want me to end the stream?